Christmas parade. His little show.
Well, talking to you about the Christmas parade.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna be in the parade again this
Oh,
year.
really?
We're
Okay.
working on the float.
Children.
We're working on the float, and we have the drill team ready. We've had about 8 rehearsals.
All right.
They're still falling all over each other, but it's coming
It's
together
coming along.
slowly.
Do you have some of the
And
people in our drill team helping you?
Yes, Officer Dandy is helping,
Okay.
and Officer Odenthal is
Okay,
helping.
great. Well, that'll be neat.
We're trying to get them some uniforms too.
Uh-huh.
And by the way, I need that bus. I need the city bus to get them down there. Parade is gonna be 4 o'clock, and
Yeah.
they usually have us line up about an hour before time.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have
If
to meet
you
down
get
at
with,
Terry told us okay.
did he, okay, and,
Yes.
yeah, now you gotta find, I think Wilson has a license, you have to have a special license to drive that, a CDL license?
Terry
Yeah.
said you
Probably
have somebody
so.
to drive.
Well, okay, yeah, they'll help you out.
Okay.
Okay, you ready? And I don't have that sheet for you, it was at the house, but I'll get you another.
Well, I can't believe I've put it in a
Yeah.
folder, and over the holidays with
That's
all the
okay.
family coming in,
Put that forward someplace.
I have really hidden it well, too.
That's okay. Okay, I guess we'll start off with you, Mrs. Ray. And if you would, just sit back, relax, and this will be very informal, okay? I guess first thing I want to know, because, you know, I've known you for a few years, but I don't know a bunch about you for a few
That's right.
these years. So you were born in
I was
Aiken?
born in
Okay.
Aiken.
When were you born?
Down, you know, where the highway department is, there's a big white house across the way. I was born in a little house behind that big white house, you know.
Okay.
Then from, and.
What year were you born?
I don't know.
Uh.
Now, in New York, when you vote, if you're over 25, you say 25 plus, so I was.
And your family, were they from Aiken?
All my family's from Aiken.
Okay. And what did your parents do?
My mother worked for the Yankee people, you know, across this railroad, they call that Brooklyn. Across the railroad there.
Okay, like along where Park Avenue is now?
Yeah, all here.
Okay.
Across the railroad, you know, as
Okay.
you go by the post office. And why they call it Brooklyn, I don't know. But most of the so-called Yankees stayed over there, and then they had people working for them, and a lot of them had houses for the help to live in them. And some of the houses are there now that the Negroes own, that they had in the backyards of these. Now they call them winter residents, not winter colony, winter residents. But and this was called Uptown. All this in this area was called Uptown. But why they call it the downtown, I don't know. That was the name. Suddenly changed suddenly. It was downtown.
And who was your mom with? Did she stay with one family
No,
for years?
stayed with us. Our house was, you know, south boundary.
Okay.
Like going all the way east as far as you can go. You know where it turns right around the racetrack.
Okay.
There's a little house out there behind that. Somebody has built a big wire wooden fence around it. That's where we lived, my mother's house. And we could hear the horses racing. You could always tell when 5 o'clock came, because the horses would be plucking around the street, the block all the way. Then we had to walk all the way from down south boundary to Schofield. You could not be late. If you were late, you had to go back home. If that bell caught you outside of the classroom, they wouldn't keep you in school. You had to go back home. Then if you went back home, you had to work. Mama didn't let you sit down, so you had to work. So what I have to do, I have to get out early, no matter rain and snowing. Now my stepfather would want us to go to school if it's rain or so. You children not going to school today. And some of my brothers be sitting up around the fireplace. And in the meantime, my mother sneaking me out the back door in the kitchen, because I did not want to miss school. I loved school. I always felt that I belonged in school and I was loved in school. And I like to know my lessons, do everything. So sometimes I would go to school, it's snowing, and reach up to the trees and pull icicles off, go along the south bound, there's no pavement. And sometimes the water in the street, all the way in the water. And I get to school, my shoes would be wet. And Martha Scobie had a little wooden house out there where the school started. They always had clothes out there that the Quaker sent from Pennsylvania to sell. And when I got to school, my feet would be wet. And teacher would get them some shoes out of there. Then by time, maybe by 3 o'clock, I'd be scared to go home. I said, my stepdaddy gonna be fussing because I went to school. My brothers wouldn't care because they'd go to the golf course and go to the racetrack. And most of their books rotted up under the fence around the racetrack. I would go to school, they would go to the racetrack. And then in the summer, when the horses went north, they would go, a train was running then. There was a station down there, on railroad station down there on Union Street. Do you remember? No, you weren't here then, were you? But anyway, there's a railroad station, and the train would come around that curve, and then have put the horses in there, and all these boys would get on in these carts with the horses and go to New York and work for the summer. Then they'd come back. See? But I go to school all this time. Then if they didn't go to the racetrack, they go to the golf course. But they always had money to buy bicycles. And I would write my mother all kind of love letters. Please buy me, let Santa Claus bring me a bicycle. Please let Santa Claus bring me a bicycle. And she would let Santa Claus bring me a bicycle. Then what I would do, I'd sneak my brother's bicycles out. There were 3 of them. They had 3 bikes. And I'd sneak their bicycles out. So I had to clean this yard out there because I'd sweep so they wouldn't see where I'd sneaked out with their bikes.
And then you finally got one?
No, never did till I went to college and got a scholarship to go to Hampton University in Virginia. And after school, I would work after school. Then I bought my own bicycle. At Schofield, Schofield was a school. It was a private school. They had girls' dormitory, boys' dormitory, and academic building, then a little home ec building, a little white building. Now the bell tower is the bell tower came from the academic building. Why they tore it down, I never will know, because one summer I had gone to New York University for a summer school. And I came back, see, it was all brick building, three brick buildings. Not one brick was there, not one. And that really did hurt. And we had, when we were going to school, we had devotion every day from 11 till 12. And we sang hymns, we sang anthems, we sang spirituals. Then after that, and sometimes some of the white teachers from the First Baptist Church would come down and speak to us. Dr. McLean, he would come and speak to us. Then somebody would always come in and talk about Martha Schofield. And it was like talking about Jesus. When the time you talk about Martha Schofield, it's just like somebody telling you something about Jesus, because we loved her. And finally, she was born February 1st and died February 1st. But every birthday, the schools would give her a party, and the home ec department would be all the week making cakes and pies for her birthday. And this morning, she taught people from all around. That was the only school, boarding school. Then they had what they call the county built, they call Aiken graded schools up here where Smith Acres lives. A county built a school up there, we call that free school, but they call it Aiken graded, but we call it free school. Then there's another school, this building, it was for Presbyterian, it's on York Street, let's see, down from Richmond Avenue, there's a filling station, then there's a big building. I think they have a gift shop in there selling, it's a big building, it's a big schoolhouse. Now, it's across the street from the First Baptist Church. That building is still there. Well, your mama paid $35 a month for you to go there. If you didn't have $35, you had to go to free school. They want you to call it public school, but we call it free school. Then if your mother had $2 a month, you could go to Schofield, and we were real proud going to Schofield. We $2 a month students. And sometimes we would pick at the children from Aiken grade. They want to pick on us, and we say, we said, but we don't go to no free school. Now, the white people went to over where the library is now, that big building. That's where the white people went to high school. But I don't know where the children went. There were no buses. You had to walk. And then the reason Schofield had a boarding school there was from students there from Wagner, from Rich Spring, from New Ellington, from Graniteville, North Augusta, in dormitories. And we felt proud. We never thought of integration. We never thought of segregation. We just were happy to be to Schofield. And then after Schofield, my greatest love was friendship. Now, my sixth grade teacher was a musician, was an organist at Friendship. And she would hear me singing around it. We had choirs at school. Incidentally, the choirs, we used to have to go to Hopeland Garden. Miss Islam had a big white house. They tore it down. I don't know why they tore it down. But anyway, when she would have guests, instead of having company, she would invite Schofield's choir over to sing. And we would be the guests. We felt so big, sitting up in this big house singing. We would sing, mostly we'd sing spirituals. Then at Schofield, we would sing hymns, anthems, and spirituals. And when we were studying Latin, sometimes you had to sing Latin hymns, Latin anthem. But we never bothered about the white students. They never bothered about us. I was happy at Schofield, and they were happy at that. But we were friends. We never had frictions. Now, this building right here was the fire department. Then there are two little stores right down the street. I call them twins. Two stores right down. Pay your water bill. There's two stores down there. One of the stores was owned by a black shoemaker. His name was Lucius Henry Brown. His son has a house over in Williamsburg Street, but Luke now is, I think, in a nursing home. This Lucius Henry's father made shoes. Then the next little door, little room, the man was he was making hat maker. He was making, his name was Gibson. Gibson's daughter went to Schofield with us, and Lucius Henry's father daughters went to school with us, and Lucius went to school with us at Schofield. And then after up this right in the same block was Jackson Undertaker. Did you remember when that was there?
Mm-hmm.
That was, I think it's still there. Jackson's Undertaker. Then from that, his Jackson's daughter Ellen went to State College, and while she was there, she met Bobby Brooks' father, and his name was Robert Brooks, and Robert Brooks married Bobby Brooks' mother, who was Ellen Jackson. And then he brought her back to Aiken. And when Mr. Jackson died, then Robert Brooks took over the funeral home. From there, it's moved down on Fairfield Street. So it's called Jackson and Brooks. From there. Then Bobby's mother taught at Aiken Grade School, free school, and Bobby's grandmother, Mrs. Jackson, taught at Aiken Grade free school. Then on the corner from right across the street from Smith Hazel is a white house right on that corner. Matt Jefferson lived there. He had a printing press, and his office was straight down Kershaw Street on the left. On Kershaw Street, right behind, you can see the block there where the printing office was torn down. And what they learned printing at Schofield had like a trade school. They learned building, bricklaying, carpentry, painting, and all typing. And Matt Jefferson learned how to run a printing press there, and he has made some typing for various papers. They didn't have all these printing places, so he made typing types of papers for whatever they wanted. Going down Lawrence Street, about the middle of this block, was a barber shop run by Mr. Lewis Carroll. He only did work for white people on that, right in the middle of this block, Lewis Carroll. Then across the street, what was that store that you met yesterday? With planning.
Creative program planners.
Creative, over there where creative program planning, the black man had a butcher shop, called it Palace Market. Go on, still down on Lawrence Street, plum pudding was owned by a black man, Robert Williams. His son was my teacher at Schofield. Robert Williams' son was named Edward Williams, and he finished school in Morehouse in Atlanta. Then after he finished school in Morehouse, they gave him a scholarship, and he went to Columbia University and got his PhD. But he was about the smartest teacher I ever did know. He knew something. He knew something, everything.
What kind of store was that he operated?
It had grocery stores in there.
Okay.
That was it. That was his father on that.
Okay.
All right. Going up Lawrence Street, where Fox Shoe Shop is, there was another butcher shop run by Mr. Janice Mathis. That's his house is over there on Howard Street, a big two-story house. His children are living now. James Mathis, Sophie Mathis. You probably know some of them, because I know Louis Price is always up the city sometime. Anyhow, he had a butcher shop there. Now, let's come back to Richland Avenue and start at Holly Inn. From Holly Inn all the way to Newberry Street was owned by black people. Those were the McGees. They were contractors, William McGee and Albert McGee. They owned from Holly Inn all the way down to Newberry Street. And the store right on Newberry Street was a drugstore, Dr. C.C. Johnson. But goodness, I thought Dr. C.C. Johnson was the richest man in the world, and come to find out he was renting from the McGees. They owned the, don't ask me where they got the property, I'll ask you because I don't know. But they had it. And now, then after Dr. C.C. Johnson finally moved down to Park Avenue, where he has the building there, big C.C. Johnson's building, a little office building. Let's see, on
Mason Johnson's drugstore was.
yeah, Mason Johnson's drug is still there. That's his grandfather was there. Oh, let's get back up this over in the alley. Charlie's Fish Market was there. That's the Greek. He had a fish market there. Was it there when you were here? And there was no discrimination. I don't remember discrimination. I heard about it, but you could. And Saturday, that was your place. You could go to have a fish sandwich. You could go, but you didn't have the money to go anywhere else except on a Saturday. You got what you call light bread. Your mama had to make biscuits every morning. Got to make biscuits, but on Saturday we could go to Charlie's Fish Market and get us a fish sandwich. It was real good too. Then in the alley, there's another store in there. It was in there, so the little printing shop. This man was Bill Edinburgh Grimm. They own a house over there on 3rd Avenue in Brooklyn. You know where Brooklyn is? 3rd Avenue, right up the street. All right, Grimm was he was really a genius. He was one genius. He built the pews. You saw the pews in Friendship. He made every one of them. And remember, in the corner is a big bookcase. He made that. And people want to buy it. We said, no, you can't find that in any church in the United States. But Grimm made those. Then he had over by the White Cemetery, it's a little house over there. And he would have Sunday school. Every Sunday morning he'd have Sunday school for the children. And guess what? He would buy them candy and give them money. You-
Which cemetery? Which
It's
cemetery?
White, I call it the White Cemetery, right up the end of Lawrence Street.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hampton.
Okay.
And over behind the White Cemetery,
Bethany?
Bethany.
over behind the White Cemetery is a house back there, and this is where Mr. Grimm would have Sunday school Sunday morning. But he belonged to my church, Friendship. And he'd give the little children, take candy to Sunday school, and he would give them money. So that's the kind of man he was. He was really a genius. He was really a genius. Then while we are in that direction by the cemetery, the John Connor lived out there. And John Connor was a brick mason, and he built some of the bricks, laid some of the bricks in Serpentine Hall around Hopeland Garden. So it was Serpentine Hall. John Connor helped to build those bricks. Just about everything around Aiken that was built, some black person had his hand in doing something with it. They even had to dig that cut, what you call the railroad cut, where the trains ran from Charleston to Augusta. They didn't have all this machinery in those days, so the people they were digging.
Did you remember when they did that?
Yeah, they were digging. Some of them were digging the golf course. One southern golf course we call is out this way. I know what they call it now.
Palmetto?
The Palmetto?
Or Highland
Highland Park.
Highland Park was
Okay.
the Southerners, and Palmetto was for what they call the Winter Colony, the Yankees. But anyway, we would have fun on those golf courses when we get out in the woods and play, find golf balls and sell them. And then, as I said, the team would come along playing golf. We'd jump out in the woods. And then when they passed by, we'd get right behind. We'd shoot our balls too. We had a lot of fun. Let's see. Let's go back to Schofield. My sixth grade teacher, as I told you, she is the organist at Friendship, and she knew that I liked to sing. So she asked me, would I like to sing in the choir? I said, sure. So I joined the choir, and I was the only child in the choir at Friendship, and I sat right on the front seat. So the little lady I sang every Sunday. I sang with the grown-ups. So there's one lady in my church now, like she said, you know, I've been in Friendship quite long. And I said, you haven't been in there since you were sixth grade, because Miss Hammers was my sixth grade teacher, and she was a musician. And she asked me if I wanted to sing, and I said, you best be quiet. You've never been that long with anybody else. All right. Then they had the teachers from Schofield. Some of them came from Benedict College. Some from Morehouse University, and some from Lincoln University, and some from Hampton University. Then there's one, I was lucky enough to have a principal from Hampton University when I was in ninth grade. Well, that's the year I was supposed to be taking algebra. I don't know algebra yet. I don't know. And I sit up, look at this teacher. He was the principal and also sang on the choir at Hampton University. I sit up, look at him. He's talking about algebra. I wonder if I could sing in that choir at Hampton University, because they were traveling all over the United States. I wonder if I could sing in that choir. And I said, he was talking his algebra. So when the bell rang, I look up there. Do you think if I went to Hampton, they'd let me sing in the choir? He said, they'd be glad to have you in the choir. They would. And so next day I go back daydreaming again. And I sit up. I never ever knew what he was talking about, but I was getting up singing, getting those songs together. So finally, I started talking. The superintendent then they had white administration, the Sanborn, and she heard that. So I have to go there every month to take my $2 for that, school tuition. And she said, I hear that you want to go to Hampton. I said, yes, I do. She said, well, how would you like a job? I said, a job? She said, yeah. I said, where? She said, Buckhill Falls, Pennsylvania. I'm a little kid. I said, I love it. I didn't care. I would go through anything to go to Hampton. So then I sent my application into Hampton and got accepted in September. I was going to Hampton. So I packed up my little trunk. The 1st of June, I packed my little trunk out there by the, in the south boundary. And I told my mother, I said, I'm going to Hampton in September, and you don't have any money to send me, but I'm going. I was going. So Miss Sanborn, she asked me if I really could go to Buckhill. I said, yeah, my mama let me go. So then when school closed, she gave me a ticket. Miss Sanborn gave me my ticket. And my mother put me in her little Ford and put my trunk. I said, I'm going to Hampton. I'm going to Hampton. And she put me that trunk in her little Ford and took me to the station down there where the train's going around Union Avenue. And I ended up in Buckhill Falls, Pennsylvania. Guess how much money I made? $1 a day. Boy, I was rich. I stayed there June, July, and August. And the 1st of September, they put me on the train to go to Hampton. Now, this little baby I was taking care of named Nancy Jenkins, kin to Martha Schofield. And I never Martha Schofield. I took a little baby a whole summer. Then last year, 3 of Martha Schofield's nieces came to friendship, came to visit. They want to write a book about Martha Schofield. And I said, wait a minute. I said, I took care of a little baby for a summer when I finished high school, and her name was Nancy Jenkins. So there's some Jenkins in Martha Schofield's family. And I said, the girl is named Nancy, but I don't know. So I asked Martha Schofield's niece if they thought they could locate Nancy. So she called me back last summer and said they located Nancy. And she told me where she was living. She had moved to Florida. She had married and moved to Florida. And I said, I want to see Nancy. She said, but you wouldn't know Nancy. I said, why I wouldn't know Nancy? She said, she's so big now. She was a little baby. I said, I still want to see her. So I'm supposed to contact Nancy, and I've written the address, but the letter came back. So I'm going to tell Martha Schofield's niece to try again, because I got to see Nancy. I got to see her.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
How old were you?
Huh?
How old were you?
But out of high school.
Just out of high school.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Were you
So,
16?
yeah. So anyhow, so when I got to Hampton, that in the 1st of September, the older students, seniors, had to go a week early, to help the new students come along. So they would see me. I was there. They said, I'd ask the senior. I said, are you a freshman? He said, no, I'm a senior. So they're supposed to be our advisor. So they say, well, what's your classification? I said, I'm a freshman. See, they thought I was a senior. Right? And they said, why you act like a senior? I said, I don't have time to make friends. I'm going to be here 4 years, and I got to make friends. And I don't have time all the year to make a friend. I said, I started making friends the first day I hit in there. And then, so I made the choir. And after school, I had scholarship. Then after school, I would work, clean the teacher's room. Or sometimes I wait in the teacher's dining room. And when school closed, I had money in the bank. Absolutely, I had money in the bank. But when you go to college, you don't come back home to sit on your mother. So naturally, you got to go end up in New York. So I ended up in New York, and it wasn't what everybody's called it. Because there's more prejudice there than any place I've ever been. Because if you go to a place, look an application, go to an office looking for a job, are you Spanish or Jewish? I said, I'm a Negro. Throw my application away. Got all kind of references from Hampton University. Just looking in New York Times job. So go to the office, walk in with the boss. can I help you? And I tell him, I came to answer this ad. Are you Spanish or Jewish? I said, neither. I'm a Negro. In the trash basket. So the job is taken. Then had a way, sometimes they put ads in the paper, you gotta be light colored or white to get a job just cleaning house. You don't have that in Aiken. You never have it in Aiken. If you can do the housework, they don't care what color you are. They take you here, and you know. And this year when I came back, I found out how discrimination was in New York, and I was disappointed because there was discrimination in Virginia. So then,
How long did you stay in New York?
I stayed there about 10 years. Yeah. And
Did you finally get a job?
Had your business.
I didn't get a job, but I studied beauty culture and was a beautician.
Okay.
So I ran that for 5
So
years.
you had a shop in New York?
Then I said I'm going to learn Spanish. I said I'm not going to know any more English. I don't know any more English. If I got to be a Spanish, I'm going to be a Spanish. So I was going to night school right up the street from me. Adults could go for free. That's just one block, and I had a Spanish teacher. And I was taking shorthand. I already had typing at Hampton. So I was had that Spanish Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Friday I get home, telephone call, Bradley, Schofield.
It's principal.
Yeah, they know Bradley was the principal. You know he's the principal, don't you? He was the principal at Schofield. And he's also a graduate of Hampton. So he said, you want a job? See, I majored in English. You want a job? I said, doing what? He said, teaching. I said, teaching what? Teaching English. I said, when do you need me? This was Friday. When do you need me? He said, as soon as you can get here. I said, I'll see you Monday. I was so sick of New York. I was so sick of New York, so I came.
What year would that have been?
That was
in the
1949.
Okay.
So with my bachelor's degree, guess how much money I got a month? $90 a month. Schofield, $90 a month. So early, so okay, so that's all right. Then I go back to New York in the summer, start going to NYU. I said, I've got to make more than $90. So I started going to NYU. And a lot of friends that lived in the house next door to me, except August come, they said, what are you going to do now? I said, I'm going back home. How you going to stay down there and all that discrimination? I said, the same way you stay here with it and don't know it. I said, and so I packed my little thing, come on back to Aiken, you know, so. I just been, I've been happier here than any place I've been, and we even ran into discrimination in Europe, didn't we?
What?
They'd have, you know, we'd always go on a bus with about 30 people to go from the United States. And just heavenly going on the plane, everything. And we would be the only blacks on there. And when we get home, maybe to England, Italy, or at the museum, and they wouldn't pay me any attention. He was a musician, so he would be talking to the girls crazy. He found out he's a musician, they worshiped him. So when the kids, instead of they looking at his statues in the museum, looking up at him, I said, they didn't pay me any mind. They thought he was a god from Africa. And they would look up at him, and they were so happy. But believe it or not, it doesn't matter what your language is, that smile is universal. Mm-hmm. So we meet the little children, we smile, they smile back. And when we got to Russia, everybody's scared to death in Russia. Even our guide was scared. And you know, you go downstairs to the restaurant, there's music, always classical music, always. And the Russian guide told us they didn't have any unemployment. Everybody's employed in Russia. So I said, Gee, I said, well, how could everybody be employed? He said, what do you think, you have to go to the rock bed or something? I said, they might have to go to the rock bed, and so everybody was employed. And
Even if you didn't like what you were doing.
Absolutely.
so when we were going in that morning, we looked down, the women out there cutting hedges, the women in Russia, cutting the hedges, and then, and washing the plane, wiping the planes, those wings down, up on ladders, wiping them, dusting them off. I said, I didn't see any men working in the street, but they were in the stores. You guys were in the stores. But the women were out in the street, cleaning the streets and cutting the hedges. So yeah, and I liked, every time you went down to eat, they'd have music. It was in a big circle, like a big pit, like a radio. And the orchestra would be down there and the music would be coming up. Always you didn't have any trashy music, you had classical music all the time. In other words, they asked the guy, how is it if everybody's was employed? They said, well, they give you a test, and if you want to be a musician, then you got to study music. If you're going to be an athlete, you got to be an athlete. You practice whatever that is. That's what you practiced all the time. Then you had to do that.
And if you did well, the school was, especially higher education, was free.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Let me ask you this, because I don't know. Where is Hampton University?
In Virginia?
Hampton, Virginia.
Hampton, okay.
Hampton, Virginia.
And you taught at Schofield. Did you teach English all the
English.
years?
At Schofield, yes.
For how many years? Or when did you retire?
79.
Okay. And you were at Schofield the whole time?
No, Bradley and I had a little running, and I was running too. I was in competition with his wife, but I was not in competition. I just loved Martha Schofield. I loved Schofield. So I wrote a Schofield story in a play, a drama. And they're going to have, I forgot what anniversary they're going to have of Schofield. But anyway, I think about the 92nd, and I had all I had the play, and had Martha Schofield born in a little, just like in the movies, had a bed up on the stage, and Martha Schofield had a little doll, Martha Schofield been born, and then I had a little, the Quakers, Quakers talking to D and the thou. And so when I asked in Miss Bradley, what they did, they moved Martha Schofield's house over there in the tree. See the big white house behind the cafeteria? That's Martha Schofield's house. They moved from Kershaw. It was right on Kershaw Street over there near the bell tower. Well, Bradley moved her house over there, where it is now. And also they moved Martha Schofield's furniture too. But she had a big house built so that some Quakers could come down and help her teach the little children, because there was no black people trained to teach them, back there, 1868. So anyway, so I asked Miss Bradley to let me borrow the furniture. I want to have, the Quakers were coming, and they want to make a big show for the Quakers. She didn't help me do the play. She would help me practice. She wouldn't help. That was Bradley's wife. She's a principal, but she was teaching most of the senior classes. So I asked her to let me have the bed, Martha Schofield's bed, to put on the stage. Nope, I couldn't have it. So then I took my own bed over there and put it. And George Anderson, I had, well, some white men were coming in to burn up Schofield.
He's
They
an
don't
attorney
want,
now here.
yeah, they know him. They he was one of my students. So anyway,
Student.
I know.
First class.
Yours too. So the white men didn't like the idea that Martha Schofield was building a school with these black people. So they were coming in to burn the schoolhouse down. So Martha Schofield said, you can burn my body, but you cannot burn my soul. So she was standing at the window looking at the door. She met them. She was a brave person. She was little somebody, so they told me. She said, you can burn my body, but you cannot burn my soul. So anyway, So, and I had George, they were the policemen coming in to burn up the building, George Anderson, and Mason Johnson, some other fellows I had taught, and they were real good. So then that Saturday afternoon when the Quakers came in town, Miss Brabenose got interested, because I was trying to get, she would help me practice, she wouldn't do anything. She would let me have any of the furniture to put on the stage. So that Saturday afternoon, when the Quakers came, and see, we were gonna have the program that Sunday. She came to practice, and the children blew everything. They did everything wrong, because they knew how she had treated me. Children know when you're mistreated. So they just messed. He said, the guests are here now. What are they going to do? What are we going to do for entertainment? What are we going to do? I didn't say a word, and the kids laughed. But not, and all the superintendents from education, everybody was there from Schofield, Fort Schofield. And that Sunday's rain is hardest it ever rained in my life. It was raining. And all the Schofield students from all the ones who knew Martha Schofield, they came in all that rain. And Martha and I had on the program written, that was Lillian Martin then, written by Lillian Martin, trained by Marie Radden and Lillian Martin. That was on the program. Everybody had that. And at the end of the play, Mrs. Bradley got up. When we decided, I think it was the 92nd anniversary of Friendship, Schofield, I get those places mixed up, Schofield. She had went, we're going to have a 92nd anniversary of Schofield. Mr. Bradley asked the English department to do something for entertainment. And this is what we came up with. With my name on the program, Marie Radden and other English teachers helped me to train them. That's what we came up with. Brabbit and the principal didn't say a word. That hurt. So then after the program was over, I was crying. I said, now why would they do that? They wouldn't even let me have Martha Schofield's furniture. And then she's going to get up and say, we did this. And wouldn't even come to a practice. So all the people who knew Martha Schofield said, baby, they hurt you, but we know your work, because I had a lot of places in Schofield, they would come. We know it hurt, but we know your work. We know. Then I went around the different rooms, and I didn't know that the teachers disliked Lil so. That was President White. I didn't know they disliked her, because that was one time she wanted glory and she couldn't get it, because I wrote the play and I directed. And they said, Reg, Martin, you got Lila now. You got old Lila now. Because the superintendents know your work. I forgot who the superintendent was, but all of them were there, the Board of Education. The superintendents know your work. You don't have to worry about anything now. And so, everywhere I went, she wanted my glory, and people sitting up talking about it. I didn't understand that. So from there on, I didn't do anything right at Schofield, because Brabbit didn't dislike me, but he's got to please that wife, right? You got a wife?
Oh.
You better please. You not?
No.
Oh.
He will soon.
Yeah. Say what?
He will soon. He'll have a wife soon.
Yeah. But anyhow, she ruled him, and when we have a little bulletin board like this, Mr. Bradley said, I want the English department, we're going to have a program, I want the English department to get a bulletin board for the hall. She jumped in. I said, I'll volunteer. And Miss Bradley would jump in. I'll volunteer too. Okay, I do all the work. I like to fix bulletin boards. He did too. I fixed the bulletin board. And then she'd go out and look at it. I volunteered because I knew you were going to do the work. That woman was nasty.
So then did you finally move schools after?
No, I got fired. And went to Jefferson.
Okay. And how long? So you were at Jefferson a good many years?
That was 32 all the years together. When I went to that last year I was at Schofield, they didn't have a music director. Gene had the band, and they didn't have a music director. So I said, it'd be a shame to have a commencement program not having the music, because we always had music, anthems, everything. So I had learned a lot of songs at Hampton, and I had an a cappella chorus. I said, no, you just gotta have commencement and no music. See, Gene could have had the band, but we wanted singing. So I got my little choir together, and I had about 20 children in the choir, high school, and I taught them these songs, some anthems I had learned at Hampton. And I have a little pitch pipe, I blow it, get the tune in there. So then the principal at Jefferson was there. He said, if I hire you, because Bradley had already fired me, if I hire you at Jefferson, would you get me an a cappella chorus? I said, sure, if you give me time to practice. So that year, I went there, and he gave me 1 hour every day. I got to practice for my a cappella chorus every day, 1 hour every day. And so then I started on Friday. They would learn everything, learn 3-part harmony. So then I thought I'd gonna be smart. I had some records of hymns, some beautiful hymns that I had learned. I'd take the records, this record player. So the students had come to practice, the singing. And they say, oh, they see the record player. They say, oh, she gonna use that old mess, I'm not going to music today. Then they would go. But then they'd have a music festival at Benedict College every spring, and the different high schools would send their choirs to compete. And we would go in the little bus, they call it yellow jacket. So we would go in the yellow jacket, the school bus. And the band would go with us. And I tell my girls, you cannot sing going to Columbia because you'd be hoarse. So I said, I want your voices, I want clear voices, no singing. And so that you can sing when you come back. Because the band could play back there, so that you just be quiet. So 3 years we went to Columbia, to Benedict College, to the music festival. And the highest you could get would be an excellent rating. At the time we would get off when they go our rating after we sing, then at the end of the day, they would give us our ratings. And they said, Jefferson High School, Bath, South Carolina, excellent rating. So I get on the telephone, I call the principal, I get on the telephone. I said, guess what? I said, we just got our rating. We got an excellent rating. I said, I'm calling you because I know the ones in Aiken not going to say anything about it because it's good they're not going to say anything. And so then the kids would be so happy so they could sing and talk and play coming back for 3 years. Then at the 3rd year, Mr. Wendell said, you know what? I said, what? He said, you ought to major in music. I said, why should I major in music when I have kids going to Columbia, I want to say Columbia University, going to Columbia every year, getting excellent in the contest. I said, why should I major in music when the music teachers don't have any choirs there? I said, why have to major in music? I was born in it. So that was it.
Now, how did the two of you meet?
Well, we met at Schofield. I was the band director there in '58, and I'm originally from Atlanta. And going back, tying into something that she said, it's very interesting and well known how an environment can influence a child. I knew from early on that I wanted to be a musician. My mother was a very spiritual woman, and she played some piano and wanted me to play piano. But I was really interested in the instruments. I grew up in the shadow of Morehouse College, Morris Brown College, Clark College, schools, all of which had very, very good bands. Washington High, I lived on the west side of town then. We were around people like Mr. Horace Mann, a wonderful musician. I'm sure you've heard about him. Dr. Benjamin E. Mays, who was then the president of Morehouse College. And we just see these wonderful bands. When I was 11th grade, I was playing in a college band before I graduated. But anyway, I started my educational career at what was then called Ashby Street School, which was in the shadow of Booker T. Washington High, one of the best schools in that part of the country, that part of the city. And there were several schools with fine bands at that time. But we had an excellent band at Booker T. Washington, and I was very, very deeply influenced by the band director there. But as I left there, I found a wonderful band on the east side of town at David T. Howard High. And at David T. Howard High, the band director, who was from Florida, was taking the bands around to various churches to play. And one of the churches at which we played was Dr. King's church. We used to play at Ebenezer Baptist Church every Sunday. And of course, I got to see and know him then, and got to see and know his father. And eventually, I joined Wheat Street Baptist Church, Reverend William Holmes Borders. Reverend Borders' son is the pastor there now. Dr. Borders did a great deal of writing on many, many subjects. And as I left there, I stayed in Atlanta until the early 50s. And I did my freshman year in college at Florida A&M University, and I'm sure you've heard of that terrific band under Dr. William P. Foster. And that's a world-renowned band and a fine, fine music department. And Fred and I decided that we were going to sort of extend the range of our settings and do some other cultural things and be around some other cultural activities, and decided to transfer. And we transferred out to Wilberforce, Ohio. And of course, that is a very rich territory for music and a number of other things. Wilberforce University, which is well known, and we went to Central State College. And that college had a music department that just sort of traveled all over that part of the country. When I did my practice teaching, for instance, I did it out in Cincinnati. And I was fortunate enough to stay with one of the English teacher's sons, who is now the director of the old Count Basie band. And so Brother Foster did a lot for us, and I had the opportunity to play with him. I also had the opportunity to meet people like G.G. Grice, a very fine saxophonist out there, and a man who was just wonderful, Mr. Wesley Stewart, who had also played professionally. So I was around a lot of professional musicians. My principal instruments were the woodwind instruments, particularly the flute, the clarinet, the saxophone. And I was very, very interested in writing to double back, to pick up that, show you how I picked up that interest in writing. When I played with the Morris Brown Band in the 11th grade, I was under the direction of a man who played with the Count Basie Band and who also had played on a short stint with Duke Ellington and some of the other professional bands, and he was a very, very fine arranger and composer. And he showed me so many things. By the time I got to Central State, I was already writing. When the time came to select the courses one wanted to take, I didn't have to take the writing courses. And what writing courses I took were advanced courses. And so as I graduated from Central State, before then, as a matter of fact, I played around Cleveland. I did some work at the post office during the summers and various things like that to pick up some extra money. I played around Cincinnati. I also got a chance to sit with the famous Oberlin Orchestra and play with that. As I did my practice teaching, we would also go out to where the Cincinnati Symphony used to practice, and I got a chance to learn quite a bit from those men, and got a chance to know many of them. So as I left, when I graduated Central State College and came to this area, that's where I met Lillian at Schofield. I was the band director there for that year. We had the old building that she talked about where the bell tower is now. Before that bell tower was moved, I don't think anyone really knew where it was. And Lillian was responsible for getting that bell tower, I believe, to where it is now. She found it, got it dug up, brought to the site. She's gotten the bricks put around it, and they're selling the bricks for $50 to get the space. She's found the bell, and they have had, to date, I believe, about 3 ceremonies, 2 or 3 ceremonies. And she has brought that bell tower back to life. And of course, along with it, a renewed interest in Martha Schofield. I got a very fine offer from Augusta, Georgia, just across the bridge, and it was at that time, at the end of my first year, 57, 58 fiscal year, I went over to Augusta, Georgia, and started to work over there. I worked in an elementary school over at Levi White. I was a classroom teacher. And as the school began to get crowded, I was promoted to sort of an assistant principal, and I helped in that capacity. I also started the very, very first elementary school band in Richmond County, and that was at Levi White School. We had a science fair one year, and a principal from a junior high school, the principals from all around would come to each other's science fairs. There was a very, very tightly knit educational community there. And my science class had an exhibit in my room, and one of the principals came and liked the exhibit so much that he went to my principal behind my back and asked him, would he allow me to come to the junior high school and do some exhibits, set up some exhibits and that sort of thing, and perhaps even to teach there. And reluctantly, they didn't want to let me go, but he persuaded them to let me come to the junior high school to teach science. But when he found out that I was really a music major, and I had the band that year, and that I had started this first elementary school band there, I was also put in the music department. And it was at that time that we also won first places in the solo and ensemble, won many, many awards in marching band contests. We had a very fine stage band, and this was all at the junior high school level. And eventually I was given another junior high school with which to work, which was Tubman Junior High School. I worked with Tubman and Tutt. And often we would combine the music departments and do joint parades, do joint concerts, and we were the feeder schools for Richmond Academy, very fine school, and of course West Side High School. And it was during that time that I started my graduate work too, for the master's and eventually for the PhD in New York, which Lily has talked about. We've done a great deal of traveling, and one of the things that I always like to do as we would travel would be to collect unusual pieces of music that one often didn't hear. And I would come back and perform them on my principal instrument, which is, as I said, the clarinet, and things that I could transcribe for band or orchestra. We would do that kind of work. And as we moved around, we decided to just go on and just sort of expand on our travel. Eventually, we got around, just practically around the world. We've been every place, I believe, except to Africa and a few other close by countries. And eventually we will even do that, hopefully.
Did you live, once you got married, did you live in Aiken pretty well?
Yes, yes.
How long have you been married?
I have been here, we've been married now for about 37 years.
Okay.
About 37
Okay,
years.
and you lived here in Aiken?
Yes, we've lived in Aiken all along.
On Williamsburg Street, where you live now?
The very same place. And it's been a blessing to me. I had mentioned earlier that God had been very, very good to me, and I had asked him since a young man to show me some ways that I could give back just a few of the blessings that he bestowed on me, and he showed me many ways to do that. And one of the ways that he has showed me relates to the organization with which I'm working now, SALT. And SALT has just been a blessing to me, and as we have moved around the community, I'm told that the handicapped people and the elderly people and even children have benefited from this program. So Aiken has been a very, very rich place for us. We have had the opportunity to work on several commissions, and we are looking at joining some others.
Thinking back, when you were teaching and even some of your younger days, who are some people in Aiken that kind of stand out, some colorful type people? People you admired or people that you did things with, or?
One of the persons who influenced me a great deal was a very, very soft, a very quiet man whom Lillian has mentioned, Dr. Mason Johnson, who's passed away recently. Dr. Johnson, and I just learned just a few months ago, was also a musician, but he was a very, very fine pharmacist. His son played the trombone. He was in my band, my high school band at Schofield. And the other young man, whom she mentioned, George Anderson, who's an attorney now, was my first clarinetist. But anyway, Dr. Johnson would, pardon me?
Little devils.
But they were very good. They were very good on their instruments. Mason, I believe, is out in California now. And of course, George is still here.
Where was Dr. Johnson's drugstore at?
That was down on
Still
Park
down
Avenue.
Fairfield and Park?
Fairfield and Park
It's
Avenue.
still there.
Dr. Johnson, as I said, was a very quiet man, and everything that he found exciting, he would always come and share with me. He loved poetry, for instance. He was very, very, he was just gone over Shakespeare, and he just brought me some wonderful things, and Shakespeare was one of my favorite persons, too. And we got a chance, by the way, when we were in London, to take a side trip down to Stratford, to that beautiful theater down there, about 90 miles outside of London, to see some performances there. And of course, there's the theater in the Round there in London. But Dr. Johnson had a great influence on me, and he was a man that, with this quiet way, he was very profound. He could move you. He could convince you, and everybody listened. Like that commercial said, when Dr. Johnson spoke, everybody listened. And of course, I had met recently Mayor Kavanaugh. I remember when we started the SALT program back in '93. We were at Orion Steakhouse, and we were trying to pull this thing together, and you, Captain Funk, was so helpful in helping us do that. In fact, I don't know if we could have done it without you. In fact, I think we did that in about 3 meetings and 1 training session. I always remember that. But Mayor Kavanaugh has said some wonderful, inspiring things to me. I was moving from one table to the other to say something to the group, and I had dropped all my things, and Mayor Kavanaugh just stopped and picked them up. And you talk about a man with a perpetual smile, and you're another man with a perpetual smile. He smiled, picked the things up, and said, "Take your time, just take it easy, I'll help you." And he sat right there at that table with me, and everything I needed. It was like he had practiced with me. He would pass the things to me. And he said, "Well, the next time I run for something, you are going to certainly be on my committee to promote me." Then, of course, there was a man whom I had met in Atlanta that I didn't know was from Aiken, Eddie Williams. Yes, that was her teacher, the one whom she mentioned. Now, Eddie's son and I, Eddie Jr. played in David T. Howard's band together. He was a very fine cornetist, and he's traveling, working in Atlanta now. And there are some other people, of course, the man who performed our wedding ceremony, Reverend Norman L. Bush, who has recently passed away, and just a host of people. My own Chief Busby now, this man, I just can't, I don't have too much praise for him. There's just so many things that I could say about the ways in which he has inspired me, and a number of people like this.
What, when you were kids, what black churches did you have in Aiken then? Of course, you mentioned Friendship, and what other churches?
Second Baptist, Wesley, Cumberland, that was all. They are still here. And the pastor has really approved Second Baptist. Beautiful windows up there. You see, beautiful.
Beautiful.
And you really could sit all day and listen to him preach, just sit. But I want to tell you about him when integration came along. He didn't tell you this. He was in Augusta, and one of the he was working in the science department. So this day, and when I was at Jefferson, I worked in, I went and studied library science because I find that people didn't want to learn English until they got to college. Then they had to pay for remedial, they'll do math and they'll do chemistry, and any kind of science. But they didn't like the English. And then when they got to college, they had to pay for it. So I said, okay, so they don't want to study English. I'm going to study library science, so of course, library science. So Gene was in Augusta at the beginning of integration, and he's had a science class, and I get all the science books I could out the library, and I'd order books, I ordered these, give these science books. So this day, the superintendent was over there, and he's walking down the hall, and Gene is in there teaching science. So the superintendent stood and listened. He stood a long time and listened. So then he went back to the office and said, who is that man down there and, let's say, teaching science? He said, well, that's Gene Red. Well, what is his major? His major is English. I'm sorry, his major is music. Well, if he can do music as well as he can do science, I want him all music. So they moved him out of the science, and that made him happy because he was very unhappy in science.
But I like science, though, and I still do. But back to something about integration. When integration first came to the public school system in the Southeast, I had the good fortune to be on one of the initial meetings, which was held in Atlanta at Morehouse College, and one of the speakers was Adam Clayton Powell, and we had met Adam Clayton Powell before a number of years earlier, and he had made some predictions, and one of them, well, they weren't really predictions. He was expressing a hope, and one of the hopes was that in moving toward integration, we would not lose some of the things that we had built up as a group of people, and that we should be careful not to try to impose our views and our culture on other people, and that his hope was that that this thing would, the process would move smoothly and come together, and we would sort of do the same kinds of things that Dr. King expressed in his I Have a Dream. And of course, in many instances, this has come true. But to tie that in with the school about which Lillian was speaking there, my very first non-black student was a young man in the 7th grade, and he was so fearful. His mother brought him to school, and he just really did not know what to expect. And for some strange reason, they brought him to me. And there were 4 7th grade teachers at the time. We used to call it 7A, 7B, 7D, and so forth. And the top level was 7A. And I had that group. And this young man was brought to me. And I saw him look in my eyes. And when he looked into my eyes, I could see him relax. And as we got to know each other well, he would always sit on the front seat near my desk or near the window. As he got to know me well, we would talk, and he would express his fears, his anxieties, and tell me the problems he had. And he wanted to stay with me all day long. We were passing at the time. You go to math to another teacher, English to another teacher, and so forth. But at the end of the year, when that student was moving on to another grade, I think he moved on to forgot which junior high school he went to, his parent, his mother, did a very beautiful painting for me, and I have it hanging on my wall over the bed right now. And then my second student was a young lady who had pretty much the same experience. And I say all that to say that when you look at a child, you look in a child's eyes, and when you think about a human being, you just don't see colors, you don't see anything, you see a soul there, you see a spirit, and it's just amazing how these souls and spirits will sort of blend, and these children blended with me. And it got to a point that all the other children from other schools who would come to be integrated into my school wanted to come to my class. The words sort of got around. But we finally got that ironed out, and integration began to work a little more smoothly.
What do you attribute Aiken as being you, right in the beginning of the conversation today, you talked about there was, you did not feel the prejudice in Aiken, but when you got to New York that you did
Mhm.
definitely feel
Yes,
that.
it's still there.
What do you attribute the lack of that problem that you felt so deeply in New York? What do you attribute to that peace that you felt here in town, in
Well,
your hometown?
There didn't seem to be any friction between the races, you know? Because, for example, if your mother worked for the white people and they were children, you played
Mhm.
together. You always played together. And you just you didn't feel any hatred. You walk the street, go in the store, shop, you go in these restaurants, right, you could eat. But you just didn't feel the hatred. Because, for example, I was taking sociology one summer at NYU, and it seemed that they thought sociology was just something about race hatred, and it's always how they treated you in the South. And at that time, when I would go to NYU, I would sit right on the front seat, so the class would be so large till they wouldn't know you, and I would be sure they know me. I always sat on the front seat, and there was the principal there from Florida, and his teacher, both of them white. I'm right in the middle. It's the white man in New York doesn't like the white man from the South so well. So what happened? The black race and the white race from the South, they get together. So I was sitting between the white principal from Florida and the white student, and they're always talking about how the discrimination in the South. I said, "No, wait a minute. I have lived on both sides of this fence. I have lived on both sides of this fence, and I've lived in New York, and I'm still born in the South, and I know it there." I said, "But when I went to the hospital to have my tonsils taken out, Aiken Old Hospital, the new one, didn't know anything about it. So I went to have my tonsils taken out, and my mother worked for the superintendent of the hospital, Eula Lamar. They have a room up there called Lamar's room. And she came, so I had to go to the hospital that Saturday, that Friday night. And then they wanted to operate on that Saturday morning. So I told Miss Lamar, "Don't tell my mother I'm here, because she'll worry." I said, "Don't you tell my mother I'm here." But Miss Lamar, my mother had worked for Miss Lamar too. So that morning, Miss Lamar came out of the hospital at 8 o'clock. She put flowers on my room, on my table by my bed. She kept my room door open all night. She went to Columbia, and she called back, "See how the lady is in room 9. Then the nurses, every time I looked, the doors open. And said he had taken my tonsils out. But they said, "If you talk, you're going to bleed too much." So I said, close the door. And I looked up. There's my mother sitting up there. I said, "What you doing here?" She said, "Shut up, don't you talk. Shut up, don't you talk." I said, "What you doing here?" And then when Miss Lamar came back, she had gone to Columbia on business. And she called from Columbia to see how I was. I said, "Now that nurse, the superintendent of the hospital, didn't have anything to gain calling me over 60 miles to see how I was in the hospital." I said, "I wouldn't even know a nurse superintendent in New York in a hospital."
Mm-hmm.
I said, "The minute in the summer I come out here, sometime I decide to take more units than I've taken the money for. I'll call up Farmers Merchant Bank. It's called Farmers Merchant Bank. I'll call Farmers Merchant Bank, tell them I got to have money by a certain hour that day. The money would be there." I said, "Now," and I've told I tell those experiences in this class where it's supposed to be so much prejudice in here, but not in New York. I said, "Now I wouldn't even know the president or anything in the bank in New York, and when I would get this money to go to summer school, I wouldn't start paying back till September. When I come back in September, I go give my money." I said, "I wouldn't ever know the president of a bank here, much less trying to get money to go to summer school. So, at that time, the white man, the principal, he would say, now, I want to tell you something. There's an old lady, she said, there's an old colored lady in my family that brought me up as a baby. He said, I don't put, and she's black, this the teacher had on some black shoes. He said, she is the color of your shoes, and I don't put my mother or my sister above her in my heart. Said, because she took care of me as a baby and all the way up. Said, I don't put my mother or my sister above that old black lady. And she said, you know, he was telling these people in New York, I said, you just don't, I said, you don't get to know a nurse in New York, you don't get to know a president of a bank or anything. But I can, anytime I come to New York University, if I need enough money, I decide to take more units, I call the bank and it's there. I said, I cannot do that in New York. I said, I don't know what you call it, prejudice or what, but it's good treatment, and I like good treatment, you know.
So perhaps the smallness of the community
Mm-hmm.
gave it a sense of community.
It's hard to hate a person whom you know personally.
Exactly.
You know, we
Exactly.
grew up on the edge of a white community. My father passed on earlier, and you know, we just played with everybody, and it's hard to hurt, to hate a kid with whom you walk the railroad tracks with whom you
That's
sit
right.
down and practice the scales on the clarinet with.
That's exactly right.
And when you live in a place where there are many different languages spoken, and there's so much diversity and people live so far apart, it's easy not to know somebody, and I think that contributes to it.
How about after y'all were married in your younger days, what kind of entertainment would you do? Friday and Saturday night? What would you do entertainment-wise?
Well, as I said, we always like to travel a great deal, and during the summers we were doing a lot of that, and during the winter times we were busy doing lesson plans, teaching. Some of the things that I like to do was to, one special thing that I like to do, I should tell you this, was to help churches develop knowledgeable choirs. I can't, it's been very difficult for me to understand why, how a person can set foot in a choir this year and at the end of 10 years or 15 years not know any more about the formal operations of music than he did the first day he set in. And that problem really bothered me, so I set about to help choirs who were interested learn about the formal operations of music. As a result, I developed several a cappella choirs, and we would just go all over and sing, and that was a great deal of fun for us. I also pulled together all of the businessmen, all of the teachers, people from Fort Gordon and that kind of thing together to form an orchestra. And we used to do all of the Duke Ellington music. We would do all of the Stan Kenton music, all of the Count Basie music, the musics of all the great guys. And the people all around Augusta and some in this area also knew us. And these were the kinds of things that we like to do. And of course, Lillian being as interested in music as she has been, and I can't understand why she didn't major in music either. Many of our joint projects would be musical projects. Every a cappella choir that I've had, that I've developed here, she has been a part of it.
Okay, now what year did you do the Duke Ellington?
Oh, that was back, must have been about 59, 60.
Okay.
No, around the 60s, 62, something like
And I
that.
will
And
tell you,
that band lasted for a year, and we would have gone on, except I was moving around a lot, going to school, and
It's
that's
hard
what-
to keep it.
It's hard to keep it up.
when he was teaching in Schofield, the first of the year, he was had a house on Union Street. He had a house all by himself, and if it rained, you know, where Union Street is, and right up across the street is Schofield. The boys would take their cars and go and get him. He couldn't walk across the block. Don't let it rain. They gonna go. The boys at Schofield would go and bring him to school in their cars. And he was just rotten. Now in Augusta, those little white boys worshipped him. The little white girls worshipped him. And they would give him gifts. He would get Christmas gifts. All the black children never gave him a gift. They'd be looking for a gift. But little white kid, he has gifts whole night, the white children gave it, you know.
Isn't that wonderful?
And now, the kids worship him, you know.
Well, we work very, very hard. I'm talking about night and day. Sometimes I leave here at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. We would have a sectional rehearsal before school. We would go to our classes, the children would pass, and at that time they were going on the quarter system, so you just had to sort of catch kids as catch you could. And we'd just pull them in 2 by 2, 3 by 3, and keep our organization going. We would have band practice after school. Sometimes the children would go home, eat dinner, come back, and we'd have band practice. Many times I would get home back to Aiken at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. We would go out of town. We would go to Carowinds together. We went to Six Flags during the summer. We were a family.
No wonder they loved you. And they felt that. Anything else that you can think of? I can't
think
believe
it's getting late. Well, probably
wanna
what we
wear you
do,
out.
if it's okay with you, what we do is